Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a really fascinating stack of research on the table today, and I'm going to be honest with you right out of the gate, this one is a bit confronting.
Mm-hmm.
It challenges something that I think, I don't know, 99% of us just accept as an absolute unshakable fact of life.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you never really question because, well, everyone you know believes it too.
It certainly challenges the status quo. I mean, it might completely upend the way you look at modern parenting, dentistry, and even your own reflection in the mirror.
It really does.
Yeah.
So to set the stage, I want to start with a scenario. It's a scene that is playing out in dental and orthodontic offices all over the country, probably right this second.
Oh, yeah.
Now, imagine you are a parent. You're sitting there in that sterile room, smelling that very specific dentist office smell. You know, the one, clove oil and antiseptic.
I can smell it now. Yeah.
You're sitting there with your 12-year-old kid. The dentist comes in, snaps the x-rays up on the light box or, brings them up on the iPad, and you see it immediately.
You know the image. You brace for it.
The chaos. The teeth are coming in sideways. They're bunching up like cars in a traffic jam. There's a severe overbite. The canines are way up high in the gum.
Total mess.
Total mess. And the dentist sighs and says, well, it looks like we're looking at 2 years of braces, maybe a palate expander to crank the jaw open, and we probably need to surgically remove those wisdom teeth before they cause more trouble.
It's almost a rite of passage at this point. I mean, if you don't have braces in middle school, you're the odd one out. It's become this normalized part of growing up in the modern world.
Exactly. It's expected. And if you, as the concerned parent, ask the dentist, and we've all asked this, why? Why that my kid's teeth fit in their head? Why is this happening? You almost invariably get the standard answer. It's what I call the genetic alibi.
Right. They turn to you and say, well, look at your mouth. Look at your wife's mouth. It's just genetics.
You have your mother's small jaw and your father's big teeth. That's the classic line, right?
That's the one.
It's this idea that you just inherited a mismatched set of parts.
Exactly. It's the bad luck of the draw explanation. It implies that for some reason, nature just got confused and gave you a garage that was too small for the cars it also gave you.
And because it's framed as genetics, we just accept it. We think, okay, bad roll of the genetic dice, nothing I can do about it except, pay for the orthodontics.
Right. Fork over the $5,000.
But the materials we are diving into today, specifically a deep, deep analysis of Chapter 17 from Dr. Weston A. Price's landmark book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, argue that this is a lie. Or if not a malicious lie, a massive, fundamental biological misunderstanding.
It is a bold claim, but the evidence is incredibly compelling. I mean, the core thesis here is that crooked teeth, narrow jaws, the need for braces, impacted wisdom teeth, they are not genetic destiny.
Not inevitable.
Not at all. They are a symptom.
A symptom of what?
Of a specific type of malnutrition, a betrayal of nutrition, as the source puts it, that affects the very architecture of the human skeleton.
Malnutrition. That is a loaded word. I mean, most people listening are probably thinking, my kid isn't malnourished. We have a pantry full of food. If anything, we're worried about too many calories, not too few.
And that's the nuance we really have to unpack today. We aren't talking about starvation in terms of calories. You can be obese and still be malnourished in the specific building blocks required to build a skull.
Okay.
We are looking at this through a lens the source calls longevity 30 to 120. This is a functional medicine perspective.
I love that phrase, longevity 30 to 120. What exactly does that mean in this context?
It means we aren't just trying to fix a smile for prom photos.
Right.
We aren't just trying to make sure a teenager looks good. We are asking, how do we maintain a high-functioning body, a functioning skeleton, from age 30 all the way to 120?
Okay, so it's a much bigger picture.
A much bigger picture. In this view, crooked teeth aren't just an aesthetic annoyance. They are a canary in the coal mine. They're a signal that the body failed to construct itself properly and that failure has implications for breathing, for sleep, for brain health, and for longevity.
So the mission today is to figure out why our skulls are literally changing shape, why they are shrinking, and whether we can actually do anything about it.
Exactly.
But before we get to the solution, I have to push back immediately on the genetic thing because it's so ingrained in us. I look at my dad, and I have his nose. I have his eyes. If I have his crooked teeth, how is that not genetics? It feels like common sense.
That is the intuitive leap we all make, and it's completely understandable. But the source material asks us to zoom out, way out. We need to look at the human timeline. If you look at the human fossil record, go back 1,000 years, 5,000 years, 10,000 years, and look at the skulls of our hunter-gatherer ancestors, what do you see?
Well, I assume you see Pretty gnarly teeth. No toothbrushes, no dentist, no fluoride. They must have been a mess.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? That's the modern assumption, that without modern dentistry, teeth just rot and fall out.
Yeah.
But when you look at the archaeological record, you see the exact opposite.
It's opposite,
You
definitely.
see skeletal perfection. You see broad, sweeping dental arches. You see perfectly straight teeth.
No way.
No crowding, no impacted wisdom teeth. Every single tooth standing in perfect alignment. These people lived in a world without braces, without retainers, without floss, and yet they had smiles that would cost you $20,000 or $30,000 to replicate today.
That is wild. So for the vast majority of human history, crooked teeth simply weren't a thing.
They were an anomaly, a rarity. Maybe you'd see it if there was a specific injury or a rare mutation, but as a population-level phenomenon, no, not at all.
But today,
Today, however, malocclusion, that's the technical term for bad bite or crooked teeth, is the norm. It's almost universal in developed nations.
so the question Dr. Price posed, the question we need to ask is this. Evolution is a ruthless optimization process. It weeds out inefficiency. Why would we spend millions of years evolving a jaw that is too small to hold the teeth we also evolved to have?
It makes no sense.
It sounds like a massive design flaw, like the engineers didn't talk to the architects. Hey, I'm sending down 32 teeth. Sorry, I only built a foundation for 28.
Exactly. And in biology, that kind of widespread population-level design flaw simply does not happen unless something in the environment has radically, fundamentally changed.
So the blueprint hasn't changed.
The blueprint is fine. The environment in which the blueprint is being executed has.
Okay, so let's talk about the man who figured this out, Dr. Weston A. Price. In the nutrition world, he's a legend. He's often called the Isaac Newton of nutrition, or the Darwin of nutrition, which is incredibly high praise. Who was he?
Price was a dentist. He was practicing in Cleveland, Ohio, back in the 1920s and 30s. He was a very successful guy, very scientific-minded, but he was also a very frustrated clinician.
Frustrated why?
He started noticing a really disturbing trend in his own practice. He saw that his younger patients, the children of his longtime patients, were coming in with significantly worse teeth than their parents.
Worse in what way? Just more cavities?
More cavities, yes, but more importantly, structurally worse. Their dental arches were narrower, their faces were longer, their palates were higher. He was seeing this physical degeneration happen in real time, in families he knew.
And he couldn't blame genetics for that.
No, it was happening too fast. Genetics doesn't degrade across a single generation. It just doesn't work that way.
So he decides to investigate.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just go to the library. He goes on this monumental journey.
He essentially decides to find the controls for the human experiment. He realized that everyone in Cleveland was eating roughly the same modern diet, so there was no comparison. He couldn't learn anything there.
Right.
So he traveled to what he called the global backcountries, the most remote, isolated pockets of humanity he could find.
This was in the 1930s. That couldn't have been easy.
Yeah. Oh, it was a massive undertaking. He went to the Lotschental Valley in the Swiss Alps, which was cut off from the rest of Switzerland by snow for months at a time. He went to the windswept islands of the Outer Hebrides off the coast of Scotland. He visited indigenous tribes in Africa, Polynesians in the South Pacific, Inuit communities in the Arctic.
Wow. All over the globe. He was looking for people who hadn't been touched by the modern world yet.
Specifically, people who hadn't been touched by modern commerce, people who were still eating the diet of their ancestors, wholly dependent on what they could hunt, gather, herd, or grow in their immediate environment.
And what did he find? Was it the same everywhere?
Everywhere he went, regardless of the climate, regardless of the race, regardless of the specific food, whether it was dairy and rye bread in Switzerland or seal meat and fish in the Arctic, he found the same thing.
Perfection.
Skeletal perfection, broad faces, wide jaws, large open nasal passages, and near zero tooth decay. We're talking less than 1% of teeth had cavities in many of these populations.
That's amazing. We obsess over hygiene brushing twice a day, flossing, mouthwash, and we still get cavities. These people had never seen a toothbrush, and their teeth were pristine.
It suggests that teeth are built from the inside out, not protected from the outside in.
Okay, but here is the part of the research that really stopped me in my tracks. It's what you call the one-generation shock. Because usually when we talk about biological changes, we're thinking eons.
Right, thousands of years.
We think of evolution taking thousands of years to change a beak size or a skin tone. But Price saw this happen practically overnight.
This is the smoking gun against the genetic alibi. Price didn't just study the isolated tribes. He studied what happened when the modern world encroached on them. He found the point of contact.
Ah, so he could do a direct comparison.
An exact comparison. He studied families living on the edge of civilization, where a trading post had just opened up.
So he could compare the traditional diet to the modern diet within the same family.
Precisely. He found families where the older siblings were born and raised before the trading post opened, so they ate the traditional nutrient-dense diet. And then the younger siblings were born after the trading post arrived.
So they grew up on the foods of commerce.
Exactly. Sugar, white flour, canned goods, vegetable oils, the new stuff.
And what did that difference look like?
It is honestly heartbreaking to look at the photos in his book. You have an older brother with a broad, handsome, square face. His dental arch is a wide U shape. His teeth are perfectly straight. He looks strong.
Right.
And then you have the younger sister, born maybe 5 or 6 years later. Same parents, same DNA, same home environment. But she grew up on white bread and jam instead of, fish and seal oil.
And she looks different.
Her face is narrow. It's pinched. Her jaw is underdeveloped, so her teeth are crowded and snaggle-toothed. Her dental arch is a V shape instead of a U. Her nose is narrow, suggesting she has trouble breathing. It's a completely different physical expression.
Same DNA, completely different face.
Exactly. If it happens in one generation between siblings, it physically, biologically cannot be a genetic mutation.
It can't be.
It has to be an environmental failure. The expression of the genes changed because the inputs changed.
That is undeniable proof. It takes the genetic excuse off the table completely.
It does. It forces us to accept that we are looking at a failure of construction, not a failure of design.
This leads us perfectly into the mechanism. I want to understand how this works, because I think we have this idea that bones are just hard, static things like you get what you get. How does eating sugar or skipping butter make my jawbone physically shrink?
We need to start by debunking the big teeth myth.
Okay.
When you look at a kid with crowded teeth, visually, it looks like the teeth are huge. They are twisting, turning, overlapping. It looks like they are fighting for space. So we assume, oh, those teeth are too big.
Right. Grandma had big teeth, so I have big teeth. It's an easy conclusion to jump to.
It is. But the research is clear. Your teeth are the size they're genetically programmed to be. That doesn't really change based on diet. The enamel is set. The problem isn't the size of the cars. It's the size of the parking lot.
The parking lot, the jawbone is too small.
It's too small. The jaw didn't finish the job. It didn't grow to its full potential.
So let's use the construction analogy from the source material, which I think is just brilliant for visualizing this.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Imagine your DNA, your genetics, as the architect's blueprint.
Okay. The plans for the house.
Exactly. We have the plans. And for most of us, are those plans actually good?
For like 95% to 99% of us, yes. Unless there's a specific genetic syndrome, the blueprint says, build a mansion, wide foundation, high ceilings, broad hallways, and plenty of room for all 32 teeth to park comfortably.
The architect is competent.
The plan is perfect.
So the architect showed up, the plans are on the table.
The architect is ready. But then you have the construction crew. That's your body's biological growth processes, the osteoblasts, the cells that build bone. They are standing there at the job site, tools in hand, waiting for the supply trucks to arrive.
The trucks are the food.
The trucks are the nutrition.
Yeah.
In a traditional diet, like the ones Price studied, the trucks show up loaded with high-quality steel, reinforced concrete, solid oak beams, and plenty of mortar.
Everything you need.
Everything. The crew looks at the blueprint, looks at the materials, and says, great, we have everything we need. Let's build the mansion exactly as drawn.
But in the modern diet, the trucks arrive, but what's in them?
The trucks show up, but they are filled with styrofoam, cardboard, sawdust, and maybe a few brittle bricks. The construction crew, your body, is in a bind.
Right.
It looks at the blueprint that says build a mansion, but then it looks at the pile of junk materials it has to work with. But here's the catch.
Yeah.
They can't stop building. The child is growing. Time is moving forward. They have to build something.
So they improvise. They have no choice.
They compromise. They build a smaller house. They make the foundation narrower because they don't have enough concrete to make it wide. They use cheaper materials. They make the walls thinner.
And the result is the modern face.
The cucumber face, as the source describes it. Narrow, long, collapsed. The blueprint was there. The potential for a broad Hollywood smile was there. But the building materials were missing at the critical moment of construction.
I love that analogy because it shifts the blame. We aren't broken genetically.
No.
We are under-resourced. We are trying to build skyscrapers out of straw.
And that's why the genetic alibi is so damaging. It tells us the blueprint is flawed. It tells us, oh, the architect drew a crooked house. No, the architect drew a masterpiece. You just didn't feed the crew.
So let's talk about the crew. Let's talk about what specifically was missing. Because Dr. Price didn't just say bad food. He identified specific culprits and specific heroes in this story. What was on those trucks in the Swiss Alps or the African savanna that isn't on the trucks at the modern supermarket?
Dr. Price identified two main factors that work in tandem: the villains and the heroes.
Okay.
The villains are what he called the displacing foods of modern commerce.
This is the sugar, the white flour, the vegetable oils.
Exactly. But we need to understand why they are villains. We always hear sugar is bad, but usually people say it's bad because it makes you fat, or it spikes your insulin, or it gives you cavities on the surface of the tooth. But in this structural context, Price says it's bad because it is a displacer.
A displacer, meaning it pushes the good stuff out?
Think of it this way. In nature, prior to the Industrial Revolution, you couldn't really get calories without nutrients.
Okay.
If you ate a fruit, you got vitamin C. If you ate meat, you got B vitamins and minerals. If you ate dairy, you got calcium and fat. Energy and building blocks were packaged together.
Right, they were a package deal. You couldn't separate them.
Modern processed food broke that deal. Sugar and white flour are pure energy, pure calories, with zero building materials. They are stripped.
Empty calories.
Literally empty. So a child eats a bowl of sugary cereal or a bagel. They feel full. Their hunger signal turns off. The body says, okay, we got energy. But the bone-building cells are screaming, where is the calcium? Where is the phosphorus? Where are the vitamins?
We've been betrayed.
It is a nutritional betrayal. The child is functionally full, but cellularly starving. And because they are full on the junk, they don't eat the nutrient-dense food they would have eaten otherwise. The junk displaces the nutrition.
They got the fuel, but not the bricks.
Precisely. But the bigger issue, and this is the core of Price's discovery, the thing that made him famous, is the missing heroes. He analyzed the traditional diets and found they were chemically distinct from the modern diet.
Okay, what's the difference?
He found that the traditional diets contained at least 4 times the minerals, calcium, phosphorus, and crucially, 10 times the amount of fat-soluble vitamins compared to the American diet of his time.
10 times. That is a massive difference.
It's an order of magnitude. It's not a small rounding error.
So what are we talking about here?
We are talking about vitamin A, vitamin D, and a mysterious nutrient he found in the fat of glass-fed animals. He didn't know exactly what it was chemically at the time, so he gave it a cool name. He called it Activator X.
Activator X. It sounds like something from a Marvel movie. I like it.
It really behaves like a superhero nutrient. For decades, scientists debated what Activator X actually was, but modern research in the last 15 to 20 years has pretty much solidified the consensus.
Right.
Activator X is vitamin K2.
Okay, vitamin K2. I feel like vitamin D gets all the press these days. Everyone is taking vitamin D supplements. Vitamin C is famous for colds. But K2, it flies under the radar. Why is K2 the missing link for the jaw?
This is a fascinating mechanism. So to build bone, you need calcium. Think of calcium as the bricks.
Got it. Bricks.
You need a lot of it. Now, vitamin D is the truck that picks up the calcium from your gut and brings it into the bloodstream.
Okay, so vitamin D gets the bricks to the job site.
It gets them into the blood. But once the calcium is in the blood, it's kind of dumb. It doesn't know where to go. It's just floating around. It might go to your bones, sure,
Right.
but it might also go to your arteries and cause plaque. It might go to your kidneys and cause stones. It might settle in your joints and cause arthritis.
That's definitely not what we want. We
Yeah.
don't want calcified arteries.
No, that's where vitamin K2 comes in. K2 is the site formin.
Oh,
It activates specific proteins. One is called osteocalcin that physically grab the calcium from the blood and drag it into the bone and teeth matrix. It tells the calcium, you go here, you build the jaw.
so without K2, the foreman is missing.
Yeah.
The workers are just standing around.
And without the foreman, the workers are confused. The bricks just pile up in the street or they get thrown in the wrong place. You can take all the calcium and vitamin D you want, but without K2 to direct it, the jawbone simply does not receive the signal to calcify and grow to its full, robust dimension.
That is such a clear image. So the narrow jaw is essentially a construction site where the materials never got installed.
Exactly. They were delivered to the wrong address.
And here is the billion-dollar question. Where do we find this magical Activator X? Where do we get K2? Because I don't see Activator X on my box of cornflakes.
You certainly won't find it in fortified cereal or a multivitamin gummy. K2 is found primarily in the fat of animals that are eating rapidly growing green grass.
Grass. That's the key. It has to be grass.
The chlorophyll in the grass is converted by the animal into K2. So it's found in the butterfat of cows eating green grass. It's in the fat of organ meats like liver. It's in the yolks of pastured eggs.
And it's also in some fermented foods, right?
Yes, it's also in certain fermented foods like natto, which is a Japanese fermented soybean dish, or high-quality raw cheese.
Wait, so the stuff we've been told to avoid for the last 50 years, animal fat, butter, egg yolks, liver, that's the stuff that builds the face.
That is the tragedy. That's the irony of the last half-century of dietary advice. In the rush to fight heart disease, we demonize saturated fats.
Right, the low-fat craze.
Right. We told people to stop eating butter and start eating margarine. We told them to drink skim milk. We told them to throw away the egg yolks and just eat the whites. We stopped eating liver because it was gross or old-fashioned.
And in doing so, we accidentally removed the very specific building blocks required to build the facial structure.
We literally starved our skeletons. We removed the activator. The genes were there, waiting for the signal, waiting for the materials. And the signal never came.
The source connects this to the whole LCHF, low-carb, high-fat philosophy, or the ancestral approach.
Yes. The argument here is that to build a human, you need nutrient-dense animal products, fresh meat, raw cheese, fermented foods, and specifically high-quality animal fats. When we replaced those with low-fat, high-sugar, high-flour processed foods, we created a generation of people with collapsed faces.
It's fascinating. We thought we were being healthy by skipping the butter, but we were actually denying our children the ability to grow a proper jaw.
We were denying them the activator. We cut the foreman from the budget.
Now, I want to pivot to why this matters. Because I can hear a listener, maybe a skeptic, saying, okay, fine, so my kid needs braces, big deal. We pay the orthodontist, the teeth get straight, problem solved. Why is this a deep dive topic? Isn't it just cosmetic?
This is where we have to go beyond aesthetics. This is section 4 of our analysis. We need to stop thinking of the face as just a picture frame for a smile. The face is a machine. It's a functional system.
The source uses a very descriptive term for the modern face, the cucumber face.
It's a vivid image, isn't it? It just sticks in your head.
It is. It's that long, narrow, vertical growth. You can picture it.
And if you look at those traditional populations, their faces were broad. They were more square or round. The cheekbones were high and wide. The dental arch was a wide U shape.
But the cucumber face,
Sure.
narrowed, the cheekbones are sunken. The face grows down instead of out.
And why does this matter for health? I mean, beyond just looks. Because of what is behind the face, you have to understand the anatomy here. The roof of your mouth, the palate, is not just the roof of your mouth. It is also the floor of your nose.
Whoa, say that again? I don't think I ever realized that.
The roof of your mouth is the floor of your nasal cavity. They share a bone structure, the maxilla.
So they're the same piece of bone.
Just same structure. So if you have a narrow jaw, that means the roof of your mouth has nowhere to go but up. It becomes high and vaulted, like a Gothic cathedral arch.
I've seen that. A high, narrow palate, dentists pointed out.
Well, if the roof of the mouth pushes up, it pushes up into the nasal cavity. It literally crushes the nasal airways.
So a small jaw literally means a smaller breathing tube.
Correct. A narrow jaw equals a restricted airway, and this kicks off a cascade of misery.
So the crooked teeth are just the visible symptom of a breathing problem.
100%. This is the respiratory connection. When the nasal passages are narrowed, air resistance increases. It becomes physically harder to breathe through the nose. It's like trying to breathe through a coffee stirrer instead of a garden hose.
So what does the kid do? What's the compensation?
They adapt. They open their mouth. They become a mouth breather.
Mouth breathing. We hear about that being bad, but why is it such a disaster?
The nose is a filter. It's an incredible piece of technology. It warms the air, it humidifies it, it produces nitric oxide, which kills bacteria and opens up the lungs.
Okay.
The mouth does none of that. Mouth breathing introduces cold, dry, unfiltered air directly into the lungs. It alters head posture. You have to tilt your head back to breathe, which messes up the neck and spine. It leads to chronic inflammation of the tonsils and adenoids.
I see kids like that all the time. Mouth hanging open, dark circles under their eyes, always kind of congested.
The adenoid face. Then we treat it with allergy meds, we treat it with steroid sprays, but the source argues that the stuffy nose and the crooked teeth are actually the same problem.
They're linked.
They are both symptoms of skeletal underdevelopment. The garage is too small for the car, and the hallway is too narrow for the air.
This connects the dots so well. It's not just, oh, I need straight teeth for prom. It's, I need a wide jaw so I can breathe properly for the rest of my life.
And breathing is fundamental. If you aren't breathing well, you aren't sleeping well. Sleep apnea, snoring, fatigue, these can all be traced back to this structural deficiency. We are seeing an epidemic of sleep apnea, even in people who aren't overweight, simply because their airway tube is too narrow.
And what about wisdom teeth? The source mentions the wisdom tooth myth. I've always been told that wisdom teeth are just these evolutionary leftovers. Vestigial organs like the appendix. We don't need them, so we yank them out.
That is the standard line. Human jaws are getting smaller because we don't chew on rocks anymore, so we don't need the teeth.
It sounds plausible, doesn't it?
It sounds plausible,
Yeah.
but it's the genetic alibi again. It implies we are evolving to be smaller. Dr. Price showed that the traditional tribes people living in the same era as us, biologically identical to us, kept their wisdom teeth.
They fit.
They fit perfectly. They came in straight. They were functional molars used for chewing.
Wow.
The only reason we have impacted wisdom teeth today is simply a math problem. The jaw didn't grow long enough. The parking lot ended before the last car arrived.
So the wisdom tooth tries to come in, hits the back of the jaw, and gets stuck. Or comes in sideways.
Exactly. So getting your wisdom teeth pulled isn't a rite of passage. It is, as the source starkly puts it, an amputation of a healthy part because we failed to build a body big enough to hold it.
That is a chilling way to look at it. It really frames modern dentistry as damage control.
It is damage control. And look, thank goodness we have it. If you have an impacted tooth or a collapsed airway, you need modern intervention. We aren't anti-dentists.
Of course not.
But we have to realize that braces and surgery are fixing the result of the problem, not the cause. We are straightening the walls of a house that was built on a cracked foundation.
This brings us to the verdict. The source material uses a phrase that is really heavy: degeneration of the species.
It sounds apocalyptic, doesn't it?
It does. We like to think of human progress as a straight line going up. Better technology, longer lives, better medicine. We think we are better than our ancestors.
In many ways we are, but Dr. Price argued that physically, biologically, skeletally, we are on a downward slope. We are experiencing physical degeneration.
Yeah, we're weaker than our ancestors.
Skeletally, yes, our bones are thinner, our jaws are smaller, our airways are restricted, we are more prone to injury and decay, we are more fragile.
And the role of functional medicine here is to stop looking at the symptoms and look at the system.
Exactly. Functional medicine asks why. Conventional medicine asks what. Conventional medicine says, what is the problem? Crooked teeth. What is the fix? Braces. Functional medicine says, why are the teeth crooked? Oh, the jaw is small. Why is the jaw small? Oh, nutritional deficiency. Let's fix the nutrition.
Crowded teeth are a red flag. They're a signal from the body saying, I didn't get what I needed during construction.
And if the jaw didn't get what it needed, what else didn't? That's the scary part.
So if we accept this, if we accept that this is nutritional and not just bad luck, what do? Section 6 is about actionable takeaways.
Yeah.
If I'm a parent listening to this and I'm looking at my kid who basically survives on goldfish crackers and pasta, am I panicking? Is it too late?
It's never fully too late to improve health, but the window of opportunity for skeletal growth is finite.
Right.
For adults listening, your jaw is set. You aren't going to grow a wider face by eating butter at age 40, although nutrition is still vital for bone density and keeping your teeth.
Sure.
But for young children, and especially for parents planning to have children or who are pregnant, this is incredibly empowering information.
It means we aren't helpless.
We are not helpless observers of our genetics. We are the active participants in their expression. We can influence the construction of our children's faces.
So what is the protocol? Based on the source, how do we build that perfect face?
The solution is a return to real nutrition. It's a two-step process. First, we have to stop the betrayal.
Step 1, stop the betrayal. What does that mean?
We have to reject the processed foods, the displacing foods, the sugar, the white flour, the industrial vegetable oils. These have to go, or at least be minimized significantly. You can't build a mansion if the trucks are still bringing in styrofoam.
Okay, cut the junk. That's step 1. Simple enough to say, harder to do.
Very true. Step 2 is to embrace the building materials. We need to flood the system with those fat-soluble vitamins, the Activator X.
Give us a shopping list. What do I need to buy?
It looks like a return to the farm, grass-fed butter, and I want to stress grass-fed. It has to be yellow. That yellow color is the beta-carotene and the K2. If it's white, it's not doing the job.
So Kerrygold is a health food.
In this context, absolutely. Pastured eggs, specifically the yolks. The yolk is where all the nutrition is. The white is just protein.
Right.
Organ meats, if you can stomach them.
That's a hard sell for a toddler.
Here's your liver, sweetie.
It is. It really is. But you can hide it, grind it into meatballs, use a high-quality desiccated liver supplement. Cod liver oil is another classic. Grandmothers used to force kids to take cod liver oil, and they were right.
Wow.
It's a vitamin A and D bomb.
It's funny how traditional wisdom often predates the science. They knew that to build a strong child, you needed strong foods, not weak, white, fluffy foods.
Exactly. And fermented foods like raw cheese, sauerkraut, kimchi, these support the gut and provide these crucial nutrients.
It's basically the opposite of the standard kid's diet of chicken nuggets and mac and cheese.
It is. It requires a massive shift in mindset. It requires prioritizing nutrient density over convenience. It requires understanding that food is not just fuel, it is information. It is the material out of which your child's face is being sculpted.
I love the philosophical pivot the source makes at the end here. It talks about true legacy. This really resonated with me. Parents spend their whole lives worrying about what they will leave their children.
We obsess over it. Will we leave them money? Will we leave them a house? Will we pay for their college? We focus on the financial inheritance.
But the source argues that the most important inheritance is biological.
The most important legacy you can give your child is a healthy skeletal structure, a body that works, a face that allows them to breathe, and the dietary habits to maintain it.
The building materials. That is our responsibility. We are the supply chain for the construction crew.
We are. We can't control the world they grow up in, but we can control the bricks their bodies are built from. And if we fail to deliver the materials, we can't blame the architect. We can't blame genetics. We have to take ownership of the nutritional environment we are creating.
It's a heavy responsibility, but it's also a hopeful one, because it means we can change the trajectory. We can stop the degeneration.
We can. We can reclaim our genetic birthright. We can go back to having those broad, healthy, functional faces that our ancestors had. It just takes a little bit of butter, a little less sugar, and a lot of intention.
I think that's a perfect place to start wrapping up this deep dive. Let's recap quickly for everyone listening just to cement this.
Sure. Key takeaways. 1. Crowded teeth and narrow jaws are not primarily genetic. They are a symptom of nutritional deficiency, specifically a lack of fat-soluble vitamins like K2, vitamin A, and D.
Right.
2. This change happened in one generation. The shift from traditional nutrient-dense diets to processed modern diets.
The smoking gun.
3. The mechanism is the narrow jaw. The jaw doesn't grow big enough to hold the teeth because it lacks the activator X to direct calcium into the bone.
The foreman's not on the job.
4. This isn't just cosmetic. A narrow jaw means a narrow airway, leading to mouth breathing, sleep apnea, and systemic health issues. And 5. We can fix it, or present it, in the next generation by returning to nutrient-dense, animal fat-rich, traditional foods and cutting the processed displacement foods.
The aha moment for me is definitely that connection between butter, jaw size, and breathing. I will never look at a stick of butter the same way again. It's literally face-building material.
It is. It's structural engineering in a yellow wrapper.
So we've covered the teeth, the jaw, the airway, but I want to leave the listener with a final provocative thought, something to mull over.
Let's hear it.
We talked about how the face is shrinking. We talked about how the skeleton is degenerating.
Yeah.
Because we can see it. We smile in the mirror and we see the crowding. It's visible evidence.
Right. It's right there in front of us. You can't miss it.
But if our faces are shrinking due to our diet, if the most visible part of our skull is degenerating because we aren't feeding it the right materials, what other parts of our biology are quietly degenerating right now that we can't see?
That is the frightening question, isn't it?
What about the structure of our hearts? What about the density of our brains? What about our arteries? If the parking lot of the jaw is getting smaller, what other capacities are withering away inside of us because we've swapped real food for processed filler?
It suggests that the narrow jaw is just the tip of the iceberg. The entire body might be operating at a suboptimal level, a shadow of what it was designed to be.
A heavy thought, but a motivating one. Get the grass-fed butter.
Ideally, the grass-fed dairy aisle. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you for guiding us through this deep dive.
My pleasure. It was fascinating stuff.
And to our listener, thank you for joining us. Remember the goal. Longevity 30 to 120. Let's keep those skeletons strong for the long haul. We'll see you next time.